Everybody. This is Kim Cobb, and I'm so excited to welcome you to the second week of the Carbon Reduction Challenge for summer 2020 and to answer some of your frequently asked questions. So without further ado, let me share my screen and we'll get started. So these are the list of the questions that were asked. I'm not going to list them off here, but to give you a reference point, these will be segmented through this video so that you can follow along with this list. So number one is about the pre-survey. Can I edit the pre-survey to customize it for my company? The goal of the pre-survey is to understand how travel and commute behaviors and business operations have changed during COVID-19 and to determine whether those changes translate to CO2 emissions reductions and cost savings. It's meant to be quick and easy for your team to complete so that you can get a sense of where the biggest opportunities lie. You will follow up the pre-survey with a more in-depth survey where you'll focus on one behavior or operation that has changed. So if you have additional questions that you think can help you go broad and gather important context, then feel free to add it to your pre-survey. If you have additional questions that go deeper and take more time, it may be better to wait and then add them to your in-depth survey later on. The second question is, who should I ask to help me send out my pre-survey? Well, start by sending out your pre-survey to your teammates at your work. Then you can ask your supervisor or teammates if they know more people who you could send your survey to. Third question, how many people should I survey? Well, generally speaking, the more the better. So start with the people on your team and expand to as many people as you can reach. To get a more specific representative number for your company, you'll want to calculate a sample size based on how many people work at your company or organization. We'll put a sample size calculator in the description below. Can I work with others at my company besides my supervisor? Sure. At this stage in the Carbon Reduction Challenge, it would be helpful to work with others at your organization to A, take your pre-survey, as well as B, talk with to understand how specific behaviors or operations at your organization has changed. So please do work with others at your company and keep your supervisor in the loop so that they're on board. Can we work with Georgia Tech? Sure. If you don't have a formal internship or co-op this summer, but you have connections with the lab or other campus organization that are supportive of you doing a carbon reduction project, feel free to work with them. Just make sure to identify a point of contact who can approve your project and then let us know who that is by emailing us at carbonreduction@gautech.edu. What's the timeline for completing the pre-survey? Well, we know that each of you are on slightly different timelines because the summer has been very disrupted by COVID-19. So we're trying to keep timelines somewhat flexible for you relative to the start date of your internship or co-op. That being said, our recommendation is that you do send out the pre-survey as soon as you can and try to get as many responses from now until the end of June so that you can submit your results to us by the first week of July. Now, if you do have the opportunity to meet with senior leadership or have other important reasons why that timeline needs to slip, please do reach out to us, let us know, and we can absolutely accommodate that request. So what sort of information should I expect to get from the pre-survey? Won't working from home be the most important thing that has changed? Well, yes, we do expect that commuting and travel patterns will be the behaviors that change significantly during this time. However, there may be other things that are more specific to your organization or company that may have changed. And the pre-survey, we're calling these business model changes. And examples of these changes could be switching to more local suppliers for ingredients for organizations that deal with food, for example, or adjusting lighting and HVAC schedules for organizations that have large office buildings, etc. In addition to working remotely, ask your teammates about other things that might have changed during the pandemic, and you may come across some surprising changes that have large CO2 and cost implications. So what happens after the pre-survey? We recommend that you send your pre-survey out and get a representative set of responses by the end of June. We'll ask you to write up your results and to submit it to us in the first week of July so that we can give you feedback by the second week of July. Based on the pre-survey responses, you'll choose one behavior that has changed the most, maybe, for example, driving to work. and send out a more in-depth survey to your team at that point. We recommend that you send your in-depth survey out and get a representative set of responses by the 3rd week in July. Based on the in-depth survey responses, you'll calculate how CO2 emissions have changed before and during the COVID-19 pandemic and come up with a few recommendations for how your organization can curb their emissions and support effective low-carbon work behaviors that were used during the COVID-19 pandemic. By the last week of July, you'll write up your calculations and recommendations as a report and submit it to your organization so that they can consider further implementation. You will present your findings at a virtual poster expo in the 2nd week of August. I can't wait for that. And throughout all of this, of course, we'll be scheduling regular office hours with you with our carbon reduction team so that we can provide guidance and support as you craft your in-depth survey and craft your implementation plan recommendations. How do we calculate NPV, net present value? We've posted a really useful video with answers to the orientation quiz where you can go to calculate NPV. So please do have a look at that in the link in the description below. How do we calculate the carbon savings and cost savings from upgrading to LED lights, for example? Please go through the changing out incandescent bulbs for LED bulbs example in this doc below. So that really will take you through the light bulb example, but also help you understand how electricity converts to carbon and cost savings, one of our most common needs for translation. So if you have other questions about how to translate business practices or other potential low carbon practices into CO2 emissions and cost savings, that is why we are here to support your work through the summer and make sure that you have robust numbers by the end of the summer. So we're committed to that as a carbon reduction team. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best of luck, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of the results at the end of the summer.